Well, everyone, we are back with the Thought series once more, and this time we're talking about a special, unique series of comics that have been coming out called the Tales of the Dark Multiverse. Now, people are probably going to be asking, what is the Tales of the Dark Multiverse? Well, basically, it's the DC equivalent of the What Ifs, of the Marvel equivalent of the What If stories, where DC would make these What If stories of certain past stories and take a darker edge to them. Well, as dark as you can make them, because a lot of the stories were pretty dark at their times, and some are still very, very freaking dark. And the Tales of the Dark Multiverse stories take place, are in canon. They are in the Dark Multiverse, whereas the What If stories are part of the big Marvel universe, but looks like they won't go anywhere. The Tales of the Dark Multiverse, however, is, well, basically the idea of what if this event went differently? And this hints at a potential route for the big crisis story because, let me see, in this, because I have all the issues that have come out since release. I'm looking through my box of comics. Oh, here they are. You got Tales of the Dark Multiverse, Batman Nightfall. You got Tales of the Dark Multiverse, The Death of Superman, and you got Tales of the Dark Multiverse, Blackest Night. But we're not here to talk about those issues. No, we're talking about the fourth issue that came out. Yeah, I know I'm going out of order. Sue me. The best one, in my opinion, so far is Infinite Crisis. And people were probably wondering when they heard this, was like, wait, how does this work? Well, probably just me, because here's the thing. The Dark Multiverse, I could get wrong about this. I never really read Dark Knight's Metal. By the time I got back into comics, the event had already passed, and I just never bothered time to get the book and read it because there was probably a ton of information I'll be probably missing. But there were some things I found out, like how Final Crisis is connected with this from a retcon, and that led to a myriad of questions probably should have been addressed but never was. But with how Dan DiDio has destroyed the DC Rebirth initiative, I guess we'll never see it. So this issue of Infinite Crisis is primarily about what would happen if Blue Beetle had lived after the event, during the events of Countdown to Infinite Crisis by Jeff Johns. It would have actually been interesting if Jeff Johns was the one that wrote this, just to give his perspective so we can get a definitive answer. But instead, it's written by the former Batman Detective Comics and soon-to-be future Batman writer after the events of City of Bane, James Tyrion IV. I pronounced his last name wrong probably, but I kept thinking Tyrion from Game of Thrones for some reason. And we open up with this idea that Blue Beetle thrives, Ted Kord, before he was shot, and there was some questions I had about this issue that could probably be answered, but I'll get to that when I can. So we open up with the DC version of the Watcher, whose name escapes me because I cannot pronounce it for the life of me other than Tempest. Fugnot. Yeah, I must stress this is a Dan DiDio creation, so take it with what you will. So he's basically explaining how this is the Dark Multiverse, a twisted reality, and how basically it's the shadow of the multiverse. And then he recaps of everything that went down in Infinite Crisis. I'm skimming through that very quickly because because that would take forever. And talks about how Ted Kord kind of saw the events happen, and sure enough, we see the scene where he gets shot in the head and brutality. And now would be asked the question, would he save the crisis had he survived? Well, considering how certain plots have to go in certain directions, I'm going to say it's going to end in disaster. So Ted Kord narrates the story. I'm a bug. That's what they think. That's what they've always thought. If you ask Batman or Captain America about me, they have patented responses. Blue Beetle's heart's in the right place. It's his mind that keeps messing him up. It used to bother me, but right now all I can think of is how right they are. I went to the League with a terrifying mystery, and then they all ignored me, so I thought I could handle it on my own. but right now I feel it's about as small as they've always thought of me. I am. I feel like a bug about to be squashed under heel. I think it's the end. And it is. Almost. Yeah, this is changing the narration from when Ted Kord was saying that whatever happens to him, there will always be another Blue Beetle to replace him. But yeah, we get the replication scene of his final confrontation with Maxwell Lord, and the artwork is pretty good. It's pretty feeling like it's pretty accurate to the original version. And he gives the offer to join him and join the dark side. Together we can rule the galaxy as Maxwell Lord and Ted Kord and whatnot. And instead of saying his famous line in Burn in Hell, he says, lowering his head, then, fine, you win. I'll join. Maxwell Lord says, there, that wasn't so hard, now was it? Then Blue Beetle responds saying, get these things off of me, Max. There are things I've seen in the last few weeks, stuff I don't think you're even aware of yet. We need to get to work. Brother Eye, release the shackles, would you? I comply. Yeah, Brother Eye's back. See, Ted, this is exactly why I wanted you on board. The rest of Checkmate doesn't see things our way. I'm about to clean house. How does White King sound for a new title? As you will be my second command, and because, making you the leader would be stupid. Heck, sure enough, Ted Kord does what kind of would have made sense in the comic. In the original comic, is where he could have tricked Max and knocked him out and escaped. Though, as we all know from the Booster Gold storyline that was shown, that would have been disastrous in the timeline. So yeah, he holds a gun to Ted Kord holds the gun to Maxwell Lord, and he doesn't even read his mind, saying, I've known you better than anyone. Blue Beetle isn't a killer. Yeah, well, this is the Dark Multiverse, bitch. And shoots Maxwell Lord in the head, replicating the scene how it all ended. And then the King is Dead protocol's enacted, but this time without, Wonder Woman breaking Maxwell Lord's neck. And Ted Kord tries to convince with Brother Eye to not do this whole, stupid OMAC stuff, to go crazy and go wild with it. Ted Kord convinces him to basically search every database and sees he's one of the good guys and how he would help save the world. And then Sasha shows up, pointing a gun at him. Yeah, I was actually surprised she was going to have somewhat of a role in this. Not because it would have connected with the original Crisis event build up, but I wonder what other role she played after the whole event. But yeah, she has a gun pointed at him, and Ted Kord explains what happened. And sure enough, Shasta's convinced Ted Kord's his plan. And then we see the shadow figures of Superman, Alexander Luthor, Superboy Prime, and Lois Lane of Earth 2 basically watching this and thinking that Ted Kord's going to help fix everything. I have a question about that later. So, yeah, Booster Gold's running through the hall, and basically he's going to confront the Justice League about what the hell happened. And he's basically pissed off of how Blue Beetle came to them, and Batman, being the arrogant jackass that he is, threatens him by saying, you should think for a second about who you're threatening, Booster. I mean, I'm the goddamn Batman. I mean, you threaten me? No one threatens the goddamn Batman. And sure enough, Wonder Woman is trying to, calm the situation, and basically Superman ends this conversation by saying, there's a good chance he found something. We'll just have to trust to loop us in when he's ready. Booster Gold says, whatever happens to him is on your hands. And Diana just points out, yeah, he's kind of right. He's not really wrong. And Superman admits, yeah, I know. So in this reality, the Trinity are more assholes more than ever, because they know that what happens to Blue Beetle is kind of their fault. So basically, you can blame them in this version of reality, that this is all their fault. So Batman, because he's the one that knows everything, has Sasha go ahead and answer questions for him. Well, this takes place in the OMAC storyline, and this goes into detail of what she's narrating of what's happened in between the 2 weeks to explain what had happened. And Sasha just quickly and very longly explains, but about what Maxwell Lord had planned, and Blue Beetle Ted Kord discovering all this stuff and thinking like he's redirected Brother Eye to investigate and flesh out the secret society. And sure enough, that succeeds, and Batman's just as stunned that this happened. And then Sasha then goes on to explain how he's formed his own Secret Six, working for him in Checkmate, and they have yet to find Mockingbird, but she gives it a matter of days. Then goes ahead and talks about Jean Loring and how she almost became Eclipso, but Blue Beetle and his team stopped it before it happened. And then, sure enough, prevents Day of Vengeance. So basically, Blue Beetle is fixing every single fucking mistake that the Trinity have made, as if they have not done a damn thing. So yeah, Ted Kord is revealed to have gone back to the Rock of Eternity to basically contain the power of the Spectre before it gets out of control. And Batman just goes ahead, "This is unnerving, Sasha. You should have come to me sooner. I mean, like, he's doing stuff that I'm supposed to do. I'm Batman, damn it." And then Sasha reveals that Ted Kord used the OMAC robots to basically stop an intergalactic war, and Bran and Thanagar war would have happened. And she just simply ends with saying Checkmate's footprint on the universe just increased exponentially. Batman thinks Ted Kord is not really up to the task with this kind of power. But Ted Kord shows up, say, "Harsh, Batman." "Ted?" And I'd be like, "I could not have anticipated you, the man who's done all this stuff, to know that I'm having a secret meeting." Wait. So he orders Sasha to stand down, saying he has the situation under control, and she complies. And he reveals that, yeah, he set this meeting up and how he had this whole thing. And Ted Kord then Batman accuses Ted Kord of saying, "You stole the satellite. You stole my satellite. Yeah, you stole my satellite, you son of a bitch. And I was going to use that to spy on everybody across the planet who was a metahuman because of what they did to me and how they brainwashed me, even though there was not all of them, and it was only a couple of people who made a vote, and I decided to ignore them. And wait a second, why am I thinking like I'm just now realizing how stupid I am right now?" Ted Kord then explains that you can't really think of Brother Eye as a machine. He's more of a Robin when he put on the Nightwing costume for the first time. So basically implying that Batman likes to overly control people. Nice touch there, Ted. Brother One is an integral part of the team. He's doing good work. And then goes into a brief rundown of what was Maxwell Lord had completely done and how he corrupted Brother Eye. And then revealed what he was going to plan to do with Superman, but he says that thanks to him, he stopped it. Batman says, "We need to speak to the League. We're going to want a voice in the process. What you're doing in deep space alone, with respect, Batman, I can't have that happen. Look, there's a darkness, a paranoia inside Brother One's programming that Maxwell was able to exploit. That darkness came from you." Which is a solid reasoning to explain why you can't get involved in this, because if I get the League involved, Brother Eye will just go crazy. Batman says he didn't create a sentient system. Well, you didn't, but what if the sentient system evolved? If the AI could evolve? Like, yeah, we know in the Infinite Crisis, and so in this one, that there was outside meddling, but yeah, I'm just left thinking, what if the AI evolved? Like, no one controlled Skynet the day it happened. So, what's the difference here? So, he then goes ahead and explains that you're going to just stick to Gotham City. This is my problem. And then Batman says, "You're going to answer for the death of Maxwell Lord." Really? That's the path we're going? When maybe it's time Bruce Wayne answered for the large number of crimes you committed in that cowl. Or you keep your distance and let me work, Bruce. The choice is yours. So, yeah, this leads to another thing I'm going to bring up. Batman doesn't have a legal reason to do this. Oh, yes, he murdered Maxwell Lord, but he has to. Okay, I'll get to that back to that point in a little bit, but yeah. So some time passes later, back at Checkmate Castle, and he's talking with Booster Gold, explaining how he's glad to see he's all right and how things have gone on, and how big things have happened. But yeah, Ted Core is kind of strolling out to this dark path and reveals that yeah, I killed Maxwell Lord, and yeah, we get this scene where basically it's like a homage to, episode 3 when Anakin's in the darkness and Obi-Wan's in the light, where you get Booster Gold with the light and Ted Core surrounding in shadows. Ted Core reveals that the reason why he called him here wasn't to discuss that. It was actually an old blue and gold mission they could do together. And yeah. So Booster Gold says, I don't know, it sounds like you got under control, and left him there. Probably for the best, considering what was going to happen next. So yeah, they all head to the Arctic, and sure enough, they find the secret location and reveal that everyone is horrendously, murderously dead. Like, Lex Luthor's neck's been snapped, Black Adam's body's been split in half, Deathstroke's body's been mangled in ways that can't be described, and they don't know what the hell happened, and it's revealed that, yes, it's Lex Luthor number 2! And basically, yeah, Lex Luthor had a big grand plan to set the universe right, this version, and they throw their guns at him, and sure enough, he just says, there used to be a lot more than just 2, an infinite array of Luthors across a multiverse of possibilities, and not just Luthor. Do it. And sure enough, someone goes ahead and murders all of his agents, including Sasha. And it reveals to be Superboy Prime, who is back in his role of being a whiner a little bit. It's all your fault! You're the one who ruined everything! Everything was better on my Earth! And sure enough, it's revealed that, yeah, it's Alexander Luthor, and how he's the son of Lex Luthor, world once designated as Earth 3, and just basically explains how everything he was planning to do before Ted Core altered history. Yeah, here's the thing. This is where a question I have. So how does the Dark Multiverse actually work? I could be wrong about this, but this is my interpretation. That it feeds, so to speak, on the history of the DC Universe and the rest of the multiverse, and creates its own infinite amount of Earths, whereas in the DC Universe, the DC Multiverse, there's 52 Earths, but due to this endless array of history it has in all 52 Earths, even the newly developed ones, it copies the history and warps it in a darker path. Because, remember, Crisis on Infinite Earths, Darkseid has, albeit a small role, but still a role in it. You can't have that happen without Darkseid. So history would have to have a copy version of Darkseid on in the Dark Multiverse. So there's probably a dark multitude of Darkseids running around, altering endings of Crisis on Infinite Earths, Infinite Crisis probably in another dimension, and Final Crisis. So yeah, basically, yeah, Alexander Luthor's explaining everything and how he planned to basically murder end billions of lives. And how he basically goes ahead and says, the ends justify the means. And Superboy Prime just says, the Superboy of this world isn't anything close to what he's supposed to be. He should be one of its greatest heroes. But he's giving it all up for nothing. What kind of hero does that? Well, he's a clone of Lex Luthor, was programmed by him, and was given a failsafe protocol that almost made him murder his teammates. If you were in his position, you would probably be feeling the same way, so you could shut the fuck up. Brother Eye tries to basically tell him, grant me autonomous control and I will deal with these people. However, Ted Core reasons that no, I can stand down, Brother Eye, I can handle this. And Superboy Prime detects what's going on, and Alexander Luthor reveals, yeah, I gave Brother One his sentience and everything, but now you've corrupted him along with the rest of my Omax on the other end of the universe, put my Omax on the other end of the universe and stop my whole thing. And Ted Core tries to make them work together and say we can make this Earth better. And no, you people haven't earned it. Okay, then rationalize with me. He basically explains how if he, a simple man who's not even the smartest being on the planet, that goes to Batman Dickery, could find him, it's only a matter of time until someone else does, and they'll try and stop him. And Alexander Luthor believes, do you really think you could berate me into giving all this up? Ted Core just answers, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the person with the power to save this world. Wait, no. Superboy, you can't take this nonsense seriously. He's right, Alex. You've been playing dress-up with supervillains. He's actually been helping people. Alexander Luthor doesn't like this and pulls out a kryptonite gun. And then Superman of Earth 2 and Lois Lane of Earth 2 discover what's going on. And they are immediately murdered. Superboy Prime is aghast, and yeah, Alexander Luthor basically admits that, yeah, I've been using you. You're just stupid enough to manipulate. I have longed to do this. And Superboy Prime immediately murders him in cold blood. And sure enough, he's broken down, crying, realizing he was wrong and he should have listened to him. So basically, this is a better Superboy Prime than the actual Superboy Prime that we got. Still has some of the philosophy of the world is messed up, so we need to fix it. But Ted Core is able to calm his senses, saying that this will make this a better Earth that Superman would have been proud of. And he basically kind of pledged his allegiance to Ted Core, so you have the most powerful version of Superman running around. And then basically Ted Core gets in the ass, asks him, could you carry it to checkmate? And Superboy Prime does so, and basically accesses the data core to see the infinite worlds that used to exist, and designates what's the next biggest threat to the universe. Sure enough, Brother Eye says, oh, it's the Justice League. They're the greatest threat. And basically goes in mathematical equations saying it's absolute. The math is absolute. Saying the most powerful, peaceful Earths in the original multiverse featured no costume vigilantes. Well, you're kind of right, but it also featured the crime syndicate of Earth 3, and that repeatedly kept living around, and then blew itself up, and then was resurrected, and then was destroyed again, then was resurrected in a way that made no sense and has not been explained how the hell that even happened. If you're wondering, yeah, Owlman's alive, he died in Darkseid War, but it's all fine and well in Justice League, but what are we supposed to do? Ask questions when the continuity plays Ring Around the Rosie and then falls apart afterwards? Ted Core then asks to show him the proof about this. And of course, Superboy Prime, despite realizing what's going on with him, is still trapped in that darkness. And sure enough, yeah, this is where things go to hell for people. So then we go to the JLA Watchtower on the opening of Infinite Crisis, and sure enough, everything's been altered, as in the fight between the Trinity doesn't happen, and not Magog. I don't know where that came from. Trying to remember his name. He was the guy from the one who has everything. I'm trying to remember his name. It's on the tip of my tongue. Okay, he's not in this, but in this alternate reality, Diana never became a social pariah because of the murder of Maxwell Lord, so they're not as arguing as they used to. And basically, Diana doesn't believe that Ted Core is capable of all this, and Batman says Ted Core is involved, directly or indirectly. We should have acted to dismantle Checkmate the second he started making threats. Okay, this is where the problem lies in with Batman's statement. Throughout this entire issue, what has Ted Core done actually considered illegal? No, really, think about it. Checkmate is a sanctioned part of the United Nations, is sanctioned by them. The other problem with this is that, well, yes, he murdered a man, but the courts probably gave him a pass because they wouldn't have made him Black King of Checkmate, the leader, if that was the case, because of and had evidence to prove that Maxwell Lord was going to do all this insane shit, and therefore he had evidence to get out of it, and like, it was reasonably justified to kill him. I mean, like, I'm not condoning what happened because he's a superhero and yada yada yada, but let's think about this from a legal perspective. Ted Kord probably was declared not guilty in this court case. They don't want to show it because that would be boring. But moving on, yeah, the inherent flaw that they can't that Batman should have dismantled Checkmate because Ted Kord threatened me. Batman, you're the one that threatened him first, saying you're gonna have to answer for Maxwell Lord's death, even if the UN did approve of you murdering him, and therefore we have no legal rights to do so. Wait. Yeah, the legal case would have probably went in favor of Ted Kord if Batman was able to try and propose the whole dismantle Checkmate thing, because, and really think about this, the case would have fallen apart because, one, Ted Kord hasn't done anything, quote, illegal in a huge sense, and then you gotta remember, oh wait, Ted Kord's been helping people, stopped crimes from spreading, has prevented certain disasters from amassing, he's even stopped an intergalactic war, and now the human race's footprint has been stepped onto the galaxy in such a high way. Yeah, here's the thing. Batman, you don't have a legal leg to stand on this, other than you being the goddamn Batman in the Justice League. But yeah, Diana refuses to believe that Ted Kord could do this, saying he's an honorable man. Superman says, I hear screaming in Kansas. Well, there is a guy there, he's your sort of brother or son or whatever, also the spawn of your mortal enemy, who's dead now. But, yeah, they prepare to depart, but then it's revealed that Ted Kord is watching them from the shadows. Then we cut to San Francisco, where all hell's about to break loose. We see Tim Drake Robin, Bart Allen Kid Flash, and Wonder Girl Cassie Sandmark get a distress call from Smallville from Superboy, and sure enough, Superboy is immediately dead. Or, well, most likely dead. He's never seen again. And Superboy Prime is saying this, I'm not supposed to hurt any of you unless you resist. I'm begging you, please resist. And Tim tries to wake Connor up. I'm pretty sure he's dead. Bart just explains the reality of the situation, and Cassie just says, there's only one thing to say, Bart. Titans together! Yeah! And sure enough, Ted Kord, now infused with Brother Eye, the Anti-Monitor equipment and armor, is now attacking the Trinity. And they target Batman, and he takes out the Trinity, but is only temporary, where Blue Beetle says, I've become a Beetle Army Corps, best Superman. I'm the only hero this Earth is ever going to need again. None of you understood how dangerous it was all going to get. How easy it was for a man from another universe to manipulate you all into petty infighting. If not for me, a crisis might have destroyed everything. Superheroes are supposed to save the world, and the only one who tried to do that was me. Even with all your new power, you can't fight all of us. Ted Kord smiles. Like I said, I'm recruiting. And sure enough, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman are being turned into OMACs, and yeah, it ends badly for them. And sure enough, Superboy Prime is currently in the midst of fulfilling his I'm gonna kill people thing, and how he explains how they resisted and whatnot, and how he's trying to help, but it reveals that Ted Kord had a plan in case Superboy Prime went unchecked, was basically to simulate him with nanobots and turn him into an OMAC. And sure enough, we have more incoming with the OMAC army led by the One Army Beetle Corps, and he's basically saying just deploy nanovirus to simulate all costume heroes. I want as few as casualties as possible. Booster Golarize explained that Ted Kord, the man he knew, wasn't like this, and Ted Kord tries to reason with Brother Eye that no, I can make him understand. He needs to listen to me, and how close the crisis could have been prevented, and stopping a crisis in its tracks. And Booster Gold says, you're right, Ted, that's exactly what this is about, and pulls a gun on him. Ted Kord is shocked, and with tears in his eyes, Booster says, I'm so sorry. And Brother Eye immediately kills Booster Gold in the chest. Ted Cord realizes what's happened, screams Brewster's name, and then cradles his dead corpse as the heroes fight, and Omax and heroes fight all around him, screaming in anguish pain. Ted Cord apologizes to Brewster, saying this shouldn't have happened, and then Brother Eye, being manipulative as always, tells him that the cold logic of what must be done will allow you to finish our work, the Earth's stability is at stake, and Ted Cord eventually gives in to the Brother Eye thing, and basically Brother Eye is now in control of Booster, because that's basically what it is. And sure enough, we see the heroes fall one by one, being dead as the Omax race to the sky. I do have a question, though. There was a huge error in the art when you see all the dead heroes. I'm not 100% certain, but is that Jason Todd next to Tim Drake dead on the ground? Because if so, that is a huge mess of continuity issues I have. Because Jason Todd's return didn't happen until during the events of Infinite Crisis, and I'm left wondering, like, why is he still wearing the Robin mask? Like, I could have sworn he wore a red domino mask. But yeah, I thought that was an error made in the artwork. And then we end this narration with Bro watching the Earth with Ted Cord narrating, saying, "I'm a bug. That's how they always saw me. Deep down, it's how I saw myself too. I used to feel bad about how small I felt. Now I know better. I see things more clearly. Now I know I am a part of something bigger than myself, a greater hive. I know there is no shame in being small." As Omax soars through the planet, patrolling the world, he finishes his narration sitting on his computer throne, saying, "I know that a bug can save the world." Tempest ends the story with the narration of, "The Blue Beetle saw the crisis coming. In his death, he was remembered as a hero in the world above, but in the dark, he became his world's greatest villain, raising the question of what may have happened should he have survived in the light. This realm corrupts and twists, but does it lie? A question that can be only answered in the dark multiverse." And we ended with the next issue being Teen Titans: The Judas Contract. Yeah, that's gonna end well. So yeah, as you can obviously tell, these stories are all supposed to be dark. They're all basically Dan DiDio's gigantic wet dream. Dark stories, heroes dying, people he doesn't like. I'm surprised he hasn't done a story where he crucifies Nightwing on the grounds that, "I hate Nightwing!" And Wally West! But yeah, this was a pretty good issue. I honestly find this to be the best issue of the Dark Multiverse Tales. Though the one with the Nightfall one had the most interesting angle, where they had a character that the son of Bane, where he had the ability to basically transform himself, becoming a pseudo metahuman due to all the venom that Bane's injecting into himself, now affecting his DNA structure and giving his son the ability to morph his body with venom powers, but not really have the after effects of it. But yeah, I was like, so what's the end game role for all these tales? Are they just to be what if tales and that are canon in the Dark Multiverse? Or are they supposed to be leading to something bigger, like a crisis of sorts? Because Tempest in the first ever Dark Multiverse tale did say a crisis is coming. Everyone saw that coming. And it's rumored to be written by Scott Snyder, so I'm hoping he's the one to do it. And if it leads to a goddamn reboot, I'm going to have issues. Because no one wants another reboot after Jeff Johns spent years trying to fix this, for Danny to fuck it up completely just to bring back his fetish of New 52 darkness. But yeah, Tales of the Dark Multiverse, Infinite Crisis. This was the best story of the Tales of the Dark Multiverse series. I'm looking forward to the Judas Contract, and I will hopefully cover the rest of them later on the road. I have a lot of comics I have to go over with people on here that I want to talk about. Like I got to finish up the House and Powers of X series. I got some rare comics that were never made into trade paperbacks or hardcovers, which bugged me for some reason. So yeah. Those were our thoughts on the Tales of the Dark on DC Comics Tales of the Dark Multiverse Infinite Crisis. This was by James Tyrion IV. This was Neo Reality Antifa. If you like, comment, subscribe, and donate, stay tuned for more, and beware, everyone. A crisis is coming.